can't see. Mr. Godfrey, could you do?
Yeah, dim the lights, please.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Much better.
Now I can see.
Class is in session. Right, stuck in the middle of the leg. Is everybody here? We're good? Do we have everybody? Okay. Good evening, all. Welcome to the Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 business meeting of the Board of Education. I need a motion to call the meeting to order, please.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, for anybody who's not aware of the exits, we have them to the rear and to the sides here. I need a motion for the approval of order of agenda, please.
Motion?
I need a second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Christine.
Thank you. We will accept the minutes from our last meeting. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the minutes of the business meeting held February 15th, 2022.
I need a motion, please.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Speakers will be recognized who wish to address the board on agenda items only. I don't think we're up to that, but okay. We will start with our students of the month, and we will start with the elementary school. This is not working for me. I'm right on the thing.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Springer. I'd like to ask my fourth grade level coordinator to come up and join me, Mrs. McNamara. All right, well, okay. Our student of the month, Mia Soledad. Mia, congratulations. Mia is an exceptional young lady. She comes to school every day with a smile on her face. She's a positive role model for other students in our school. Mia works hard in all of her academic subjects, and you can tell she truly loves to learn and is a very active learner. She is kind, respectful, and caring to other students as well as her teachers. She is always doing the right thing and genuinely cares about her education. Math is her favorite academic subject in homeroom. Outside of homeroom, she loves STEAM and art. Outside of school, Mia loves to play basketball and gymnastics. After graduating college, Mia wants to come back to Hampton Bays Elementary School as an art teacher. We'd love to have her one day. We're proud to have nominated Mia for February Student of the Month. There's no one who deserves it more. Congratulations, Mia.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Ms. Fox?
Good evening, Board of Education members, district leadership team, family, and friends. My name is Diane Fox, and I'm the Assistant Principal of Hampton Bays Middle School. And it is my pleasure this evening to present our Student of the Month for February, 5th grade student, Diaco Mendez Areola. Diaco was nominated by his teachers for this recognition based on his work ethic, willingness to help others, and active participation. He even recently won the Best Donut Persuasive Writing Competition in his class. I had the opportunity to meet with Diaco recently and was able to learn so much more about him that I'd like to share with all of you. Diaco's favorite part of being in 5th grade is getting to use a locker this year. He says it was a quick learning process for him. Science class with Ms. Tiska is his favorite class because he gets to learn about the environment and all other hands-on things. He recommended BrainPop as an awesome website to learn more about science and social studies. Diaco enjoys the videos that are on it and interesting facts that he's able to learn. He is a very active student in school activities, and outside of school, he loves to play basketball in a league here in Hampton Bays. He's looking forward to playing for the HBMS basketball team when he's in 7th grade. Diaco shared with me that he enjoys his family trips to Costa Rica. He takes these trips yearly, and he's able to visit with his grandparents, cousins, and all the family that he has there. And he says that he always keeps busy on those trips. I also asked Diaco about some of the recent books that he's been reading, and he shared about the book Restart, which is written by Gordon Corman. It's about a boy that fell off the roof of his house and gets amnesia. He forgets that he had been a bully before to lots of kids, but now he gets a fresh start to not be a bully and try to be a better friend. Diaco, I can't wait to pick this book up because it sounds like a great middle school read. He also likes to read graphic novels, including Big Nate, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and Marvel Comics. This is where he and I connected. Marvel Comics, we had a great conversation about superheroes, and we discussed who he thought would be the best one. He thought that it was a tie between Thor and Iron Man for being the best of all the different superheroes. Personally, I'm a Spider-Man fan. Diaco's advice to other incoming middle school students is not to worry too much about homework, because to begin with, in the beginning of the year, teachers don't give too much at first, and using a locker just requires a little bit of practice. Thinking ahead to the future, Diaco has goals of playing for the Nets in the NBA. But he's definitely going to keep working and studying in science to become a scientist if the NBA doesn't work out. But either way, I think we can all agree that Diaco has a great future ahead of him. Diaco, Mr. Shug and I are so proud of you, and we can't wait to see all the great things you're going to continue to accomplish at Hampton Bays Middle School. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. I guess Mr. Richard is up now. Oh, Dr. Greenberg.
Good evening, the Board of Education, Mr. Clemenson, fellow educators, parents, and students. The recognition for February Student of the Month goes to Benjamin Madison. Come up. Stay with me. So Ben was nominated by the business department, with Mr. Verdone writing that aside from Ben being a top performer academically, quarter one, he averaged 99, quarter two, he averaged 100 in college accounting, Ben is also a student who is always eager to learn and consistently demonstrates higher level thinking in class. When I met with Ben to discuss his nomination, I discovered a soft-spoken young man who is very reflective about his educational journey at Hampton Bays and the growth he's experienced. It quickly became apparent to me that Ben has taken advantage of the new opportunities Hampton Bays High School had to offer. For example, he has taken college economics as well as unified PE. Both have been offered for the first time. He's also a co-vice president of FBLA, part of a photo club and Interact Club. He earnestly told me that public speaking is something he is not very comfortable with, but these opportunities have helped him overcome his reservations. I told him that the good and the bad news is that unless you are Mr. Clemenson, who has been blessed with the gift of inspiring people through public speaking, closing and opening valves, and Goldilocks effect, the rest of us, to quote Mr. Richard, just have to keep on practicing. During our conversation, Ben mentioned that he spent most of his life overcoming a speech challenge. When I asked whether he wanted me to mention his challenge, he told me that if I thought it would be helpful to mention, that I can, but it was up to me, as he is not defined by it. Us educators dream for moments like those. This young man was brave in allowing his most vulnerable side show, and if it possibly benefit or inspired someone else. I think it's Ben's empathy that gravitated him to partake in Unified PE, a course which general education students spend their PE class interacting with students in our life skills program. This has been a difficult few years, but I would like to assure the Board of Education that perseverance, education, character, and empathy are alive and well at Hampton Bays High School, as evidenced by presenting this young man to you. So as for Ben, the best is yet to come. With acceptance to Harvard University, Michigan State, and James University, he has a number of options in pursuing his business degree. Mom, Dad, and Ben, congratulations on this well-deserved recognition.
Okay, good evening. So I prepared something to say here, and I realized I'm going to put it right on top of a laptop. Mr. Clemenston, for the record, I enjoy speaking after you publicly. It had never been frustrating at all over the last 16 years. Okay, it is my honor and privilege to present to you the Valedictorian and the Salutatorian of the class of 2022. And we're going to start with our Salutatorian, Lily Simpson-Heavey. Lily, why don't you come on down? Why don't you hold on to that? So let's talk about Lily. Lily is definitely the product of a great advisory program. Mr. Farrar and I have mentored her since she arrived here as a 9th grader. And Lily has built a very, very impressive resume. Let's start with her 103.02 grade point average, which came across 12 different advanced placement courses. She is an AP Scholar with distinction. She is an AP Capstone Diploma candidate. She is the president of Student Council. She is a member of Youth Court since 2018. She is a research and science student with Dr. Forsberg, and she's got a whole description here of things that she does with her mentor, Dr. Jan Joseph Mellenhorst, that I can't pronounce. But basically, she's working in the field of immunology, and we're looking to cure a specific type of leukemia, again, that I can't pronounce. So Lily is a committed member of the community in terms of service. Has volunteered in more ways than I can begin to describe, most notably with the Special Olympics. She's been a peer tutor. She is an athlete, president of the Science Club, and she is going to the University of Pennsylvania in the fall to major in biology. If you haven't already read about her in the newspaper, which she has already been in quite a few times, you're going to be reading some really impressive things in the years to come. A very, very special young lady and someone who is going to put Hampton Bays on the map in the future, I'm sure. So congratulations. Okay, at this time, it is an honor to present the valedictorian of the class of 2022, Christina Georges. Christina, congratulations. Okay, now some of this might sound familiar, in being that it seemed that Christina and Lily kind of did everything side by side. So Christina is going to be graduating here with a 103.6 weighted GPA. She also took 12 advanced placement courses. She is going to be a capstone diploma candidate, an AP Scholar with distinction. She is the Student Council Vice President. She's the captain of our varsity winter track team. She is the president of our National Honor Society chapter and is also a research in science student with Dr. Forsberg, working with her mentor, Dr. Jamie Wong, at the Tisch Multiple Sclerosis Research Center. Again, she does a whole lot of things I can't pronounce, but that work is without a doubt, will lead to some incredible breakthroughs in treatments and hopefully a cure for MS in the future. A long list of service activities. Christina is also an accomplished musician, having performed in Carnegie Hall, Tilly Center, the Stoller Center for Fine and Performing Arts. She participated in NISMA with a level 6 piano score of 99 and a violin score of 99 in 2021. She's literally impressive in everything that she does. She makes us all here proud every single day. And again, anyone looking for some babysitters, she also does that, okay? All right, so congratulations, Christina. Great job.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Richard. We will move on to Mr. Clemenson.
I'd like to see you try to pronounce them. Congratulations to our class representatives. In addition to all of those accolades, just such nice young ladies and a real wonderful representative of the best of Hampton Bays. And to our students of the month as well. This is the first meeting in 2 years. It was March 10th, 2020. It was the last time we were together as a board where we could see each other's faces like this. So this is a pretty big milestone and a great night to celebrate you all and to be our first really feeling like we're getting back to normal board meeting. And what a night to celebrate amazing students of the month who make their experiences great at school and their classmates' experiences great, and the culmination of what that can be. And then when we jump the tracks to the staff and leadership and faculty side, we get to continue to celebrate. So I'd like to call Mrs. Diane Fox up to the podium with me, because we're going to recognize Mrs. Fox as the New York State 2022 Assistant Principal of the Year. Congratulations, Mrs. Fox. 700 school districts in New York State, additional number of buildings in each of those districts, leadership teams across the state doing great things for kids. We have the #1 here in Hampton Bays, and it's not a surprise to us. She was nominated, thankfully, by Mr. Shug, her principal, who is up in Saratoga tonight with a team of teachers working on some reading diagnostic programming that we're doing. So he sends his best, as well as the team from Saratoga. We were lucky enough, Mr. Richard was strategic and scooped up Mrs. Fox from the Wyandanch School District, where Diane was a high school social studies teacher. And we brought her to Hampton Bays, and being a West Islip resident, we always worried that you passed like 17 or 18 school districts along the way, and she could get off at any of those and go work there. And so we always worried, you know, is she going to be with us? She's going to stick with us. And very quickly realized that there was a leadership opportunity that we needed to take advantage of, not only for Diane's growth as a school leader, but also for the impact that she has at Hampton Bays. So she started her leadership path here in Hampton Bays as the director of our alternative high school and ENL, and did a wonderful job there, continuing to build and serve both of those communities, our ENL students, kindergarten through 12th grade, and our alternative high school students, and has most recently made her home as the assistant principal at Hampton Bays Middle School. Ever present among kids, that cup of coffee in the morning to help welcome. Not so many cups of coffee right now, right? But that cup of coffee to connect with kids, to say good morning. If you talk to Diane, you know her expectation for all of us is know the kids and connect with them, make sure they see your face in the morning, so that they know that when they come to Hampton Bays Middle School, it's a place where people want them to be. And that's I think that captures her heart. Her brain is evidenced across initiatives that are happening in Hampton Bays right now. So working with Mr. Carlson and the News Literacy Initiative to make sure that from 5th grade to 12th grade, kids become critical consumers of news, more important than ever, right? Right now, as we watch what's going on in the world, our kids need to know if the information that they're receiving is true, if it's accurate, and then what to do with that information. So we're starting that work right in 5th grade, all the way through what our 12th graders are doing. Also serving as a co-chair of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Committee. So it's no surprise that making sure that every student who walks in the front door of Hampton Bays Middle School is welcome and feels included and feels seen and feels like they belong. That work is happening with about 30, 40 teachers across the district. We meet on a regular basis, and it's being led by Mr. Carlson and Mrs. Fox right there on the ground working with teachers to make that happen. So it is so we have the heart, we have the brain, we're empowering kids through student voice, through our RSVP program down there. She's got her fingerprints all over it. So it's really no surprise that Diane Fox is the New York State Assistant Principal of the Year. That's a program that is run by the National Association of Secondary School Principals. So the next stop is the United States National Assistant Principal of the School Year. We continually, every time we talk and meet, Mrs. Fox's question is, where do we go next? How do we expand impact? How can I expand impact? I want to advocate. I want to think about policy. She's thinking about the student. She's thinking about the structure of public education and how it can be better for every student and every educator and leader. So we're just so proud of her. She's going to head up to Albany in May to be recognized officially by the State Administrators Association of New York State, who sponsors this award in New York State. And just really a wonderful, remarkable example of what school leadership can be. You know, I reject the word administrator. I believe in leadership, and Diane, you are the pinnacle, right? You are a great symbol of a great leadership team who also supports you in that nomination, a Board of Education who's behind you as well, and we're just super proud of you. So congratulations. Her family is here. I see a couple of cameras there. So hi, Tim and William and Abigail, and who's that? And the in-laws are there too. So a family of educators makes great educators, and the award, the pride is yours as well tonight. So ladies and gentlemen, 2022 New York State Assistant Principal of the Year, Diane Fox.
Yep. Okay, folks, we're going to take about a 15-minute break. We have some coffee outside for those if you want to take some pictures and whatnot. And if you want to come back, you're more than welcome to.
Okay. Good evening, board members, community members, and welcome to the March 8th meeting. I have a fairly brief report tonight. We're going to keep it all together, packaged as one, and my objective is to talk about where we are with COVID, a general update on the here's and there's of what's going on about the district, and then into a budget look ahead. So we continue with the budget process. Almost as soon as we begin the current school year, we begin planning for the next school year and the budget process, which takes place, of course, in May. So we always start by taking a look at our enrollment and where we are. So not a major change from February to March, 3 additional kids. So we are up a net of about 27 students from October. That's a negligible difference in terms of what programming looks like. We have had to open a couple of additional sections because you'll look and you'll see the biggest jump in enrollment has been at the secondary level, at the high school. So we've had to open up a second section of something when the class gets too big. But these projections are not outrageously different than what our long-term projections are, and so we use these to continue to build the model in our school budget for staffing. The COVID case update, we currently have 2 students or staff who are currently in quarantine or isolation. Ms. Farrow, one day in January, it was triple digits, right? We had 200 kids or staff in quarantine. So I like to put this slide up because it just reminds us that we are making progress and that the light at the end of the tunnel, it might not be a train, it might be the end of the tunnel, right, with the sunlight there. So just take a look at where we are. 523 cumulative cases as of today. So just in the first 8 days of March, we've had 2 cases. That is a great sign. So last week we went mask optional, but you can see right after the break when the Omicron surge was really over the Christmas and New Year's break, the Omicron surge was real and it was in our community. You can see how that spiked. So I look back on this experience of what we have done, and I'm proud of the community, and I'm proud of our staff, and I'm mostly proud of our students. I'm most proud of our students, not mostly proud of, but most proud of our students for doing the right thing. So we get to March 2nd, and we shift to a mask optional protocol. I would say the majority of individuals are not wearing a mask, but we do have people still electing to wear a mask. So I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. So 2 years is a significant milestone. We sat in the cafeteria at our board meeting in March of 2020. We called it the Bayman Bump, and we thought it would be 2 weeks to flatten the curve. You remember that at that time? We just continue to evolve and continue to evolve. As with everything COVID-related in Hampton Bays, we have taken a cautious approach to making sure that if we make a decision or if there is a corner that we're turning, it's careful and it's sustainable. We feel good when we are cautious and we make that responsible decision. So it's time to start talking, and I mentioned this a little bit in February, but it's time to start talking about the shift from pandemic to endemic. So pandemic is that response, it is crisis level, and endemic is among us, right? It is the end of the pandemic, but it is just circulating like other viruses, the flu, and we learn to live with it, we manage it, but by and large, institutional restrictions are not impacting our life as much. So the short answer is no, COVID's not over. It's still out and about. We have a couple of individuals in isolation, but we have the tools now and the circumstances with the current state of COVID to manage this in a much different way than we did earlier along in the pandemic. So it's not over, but we can manage our life differently now. So last week we switched to a mask optional protocol. There are a lot of guidance around this, but there are only a couple of requirements. So it is still required that if an individual is positive for COVID, that they must go home and isolate. They have to isolate for 5 days at least. On day 5, as they go to bed at night, and they wake up on day 6, if their symptoms are improving and they have been, the individual has been fever-free for 24 hours without any Tylenol or Motrin, they can come back to school. The other requirement then is that individual must wear a mask for days 6 through 10. And then you're out of that 10-day window. You can continue to wear a mask if you choose. You can you don't have to if you don't want to. There are other recommendations for masking. So individuals who feel more comfortable wearing a mask are welcomed and encouraged to do so. We take the concept of choice very seriously. So we have messaged to all of our faculty and staff and families and students, most importantly, whatever the decision is that the individual makes is their decision. And so we're going to respect individuals for that decision. We're not going to bully one another. We're not going to pressure one another. Decisions are made by the family and by the individual. 1,700 different households in Hampton Bays, so everybody's in a little bit different place. If an individual is in the same room as someone who is diagnosed with COVID for 15 minutes or longer, they're considered exposed or potentially exposed. So they're encouraged to wear a mask. Not required, they're encouraged to wear a mask. If you've been known to be exposed to COVID-19, you're encouraged to wear a mask. If you are immune compromised and you've discussed the need to wear a mask with your healthcare provider, again, those are the recommendations from the CDC and the New York State Department of Health. So as we switch to this mask optional protocol, 2 Sundays ago, that announcement was made. I was standing in the produce section of Stop and Shop, trying to make notes and figure out what's going on as I'm watching the press conference on my phone. But we were given a 48-hour window to begin preparing for this. The guidance did come out at 7:21 on Tuesday night for implementation on Wednesday morning. So we got word out as quickly as possible. So I'm going through this carefully right now because we sent a lot of letters, a lot of things for people to read. So this link is captured and is preserved so individuals can click on it and watch and listen. So as we switch to mask optional protocol, we move to a new notification system. So effectively, quarantine is over. There's no more quarantine. You can self-quarantine if you're exposed, and if you're symptomatic, you need to stay home. But we're going to begin the notification process to exposures and potential exposures, much like we do with the lice letter, right? Every school has the lice letter. An individual in your child's class has lice. You want to check your child's hair. You want to use this shampoo and notify us if you find anything. The concept is the same for COVID-19. So Mr. Ferraro, systems manager extraordinaire, created another system in our pandemic that if there is a positive case, the individuals in that class will get a letter, an email. At the elementary school, there will be an email and also a hard copy letter that goes home that says your child has been potentially exposed to somebody with COVID-19. You do not need to quarantine. It's recommended you wear a mask. It's recommended that you test, and you can get, we have ample supply of at-home rapid tests in all 3 buildings and at district office. So we send that recommendation, come get a test if you'd like. We don't put tests in backpacks, so we do. If you can't get up there, we'll make arrangements, but we prefer handing that to a parent or guardian. You don't need to go home. We recommend you wear a mask because that's what the State Department of Health recommends, and we recommend you test. We leave it there. We have a COVID case dashboard. So as we shift from pandemic to endemic, we were going from everyday email reminders to the community saying, just check the COVID case dashboard if you're interested. We dialed that back and we went to 3 days a week. We dialed that back to 2 days a week. And now coming off of that, we're going to turn that notification off. But the dashboard lives on our website, COVID update. So you just click that and it takes you right to it. So this is part of the shift to living with this, right? It's always there if you need it, but we're not going to, call you every night and say, hey, just want to let you know there was 1 case today, or there were 0 cases. You'll be notified if your child was a potential exposure, and given the roadmap of what's recommended to do. So we have that ample and ready at-home testing. We are still requiring testing of all participants in overnight field trips. So we are super excited to bring back our overnight field trips. The last one to go was Frost Valley in November of or maybe it was Woodlock in January of 2020. That was our last overnight trip. So next week, the seniors will go to Woodlock Pines in the Poconos, and the 8th graders will go to Frost Valley in the Catskills. All students and adults going on that trip will test within 48 hours of departure. You have a negative test, you're on your way to have a great trip. Distancing standards remain the next frontier. So the valve, Dr. Greenberg mentioned it earlier, the valve was in the center. The valve's moving, the flow's moving, we're moving towards opening that valve fully again. So that's the next frontier. We're going to assess every 2 weeks and see, are there other things we can do, remove that are COVID protocols and restrictions to get back to normal. We're not going to do it all at once. We learned that in 8th grade science with Ms. Das, that you don't change all the variables, you change one variable at a time, right? And so we're going to change masks. We're going to see if it holds. We're going to look at the next thing, see if it holds, because if we do see a spike in cases, then we can just dial that valve right back, lock it up a little bit, and make sure everybody stays healthy. So there's a difference between, and Hampton Bays has really been textbook about responsibility and kindness. We see across the United States that's not happening right now in every community. We have the right, so this is our message. You have the right to do things, but you also have the responsibility to others. So we suggest everybody carries a mask with them. So mine's right over there, but we suggest everybody carries a mask with them. You may take the option to not wear your mask, but if you're in close proximity to somebody who you know is concerned or has an immune compromised person at home, or just is uncomfortable, maybe you'll show the responsibility of kindness and consideration to others. Put the mask on while you're having that conversation with them, and then go on about your day and when you're not in that close proximity. So we still have plenty of masks available. We may not be making the decision to wear our mask all the time, but you may find that you feel better making somebody else feel better if they are not wearing a mask, if they are wearing a mask. So we have our rights. We also have a responsibility to be kind. And again, Hampton Bays, that's not me saying we need to do this. That's me saying we've been doing this in Hampton Bays, and I'm really proud of that. So we put that back on the slides to say that's going to continue to be our position as we move in from the pandemic to the endemic stage. And that's it, 2 slides. Remember when the presentations were like 12 COVID slides? So that's a good sign that we're moving pandemic to endemic. And another good example of life coming back to normal is on March 24th, we're going to be at the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5350 in West Hampton Beach. Is it any surprise to you, Christina George and Lily Simpson-Heavey are on this slide as being winners, right? They're just winners all around. But we have a great list of kids here who are the high school Voice of Democracy winners and the middle school Patriots Pen. So we're looking forward to being in West Hampton on the 24th to celebrate these amazing kids who wrote essays about patriotism, democracy in the United States, and national pride. So super proud of them and thankful to Commander Billy Hughes for his support of Hampton Bays. A couple more bullet points. The Hospitality Academy kicks off next week. We have 50. We've hit our 50 capacity, so Mrs. Pandolfo and some of our colleagues are making phone calls this week to confirm attendance, and we're looking forward to kicking off here in the auditorium next week, 50 individuals with the Hospitality Academy, and again, that's a Suffolk County Department of Labor grant to provide job training and ultimately a job and hiring fair. Talked about the overnight trips. A couple of athletic updates. The spring season begins on Monday. and we are looking at our first experience being combined with South Fork lacrosse for boys. Boys varsity lacrosse will be combined Hampton-based, Southampton, Bridgehampton, East Hampton, and Pearson in Sag Harbor. So an opportunity for us to combine forces. We're stronger together than we are separate. Give the boys a great experience. We'll be practicing in Southampton, sort of central to everybody. And congrats to the following teams you see there: wrestling, girls basketball, boys basketball, and middle school boys basketball white team for sportsmanship honors during the winter seasons. We have summer construction projects. We're going to talk more in depth about this at the April meeting, but I do just want to put it on the radar that across the campuses, we will have a couple of projects going on. A roof replacement, including some stonework and gutter work on that classic 1927 wing, resurfacing the tennis courts at the elementary school, the long-awaited and anticipated high school locker room replacement, and then some courtyard, smaller projects, courtyard drainage, and cow wall replacement in the windows of the new gym. This is all 1998 stuff. So just an opportunity. These projects are paid for already. They are not new projects. They're not new levies of money. This is what we had been saving for and ready to do it. I arrived home today from Albany after meetings with the State Council of School Superintendents and the Education Department. And as I was leaving, Commissioner of Education Betty Rosa, under the umbrella of life is returning to normal, announced that we will be having June Regents exams. So the exemptions will, so welcome back. You survived the pandemic. How about global studies? We made it through, and now we're getting back to normal, and that's a good thing. So we will have Regents exams in both June and August. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Luce for a few minutes, and then I'll take it back.
Thanks, Mr. Clemenson. Board members, I just wanted to update you on the usage of the school district van. The van was something we purchased this past summer, an idea that was in the incubator for about 4 years. And boy, did it just come at the right time. We hoped that the van would be great for small groups, small local trips, maybe help us out with some sports teams and stuff like the Veterans Flag ceremonies, getting kids from here to the elementary school and so on. It's actually done all that and so much more. The Life Skills Academy here at the high school uses the van 2 to 3 times a week. The golf team, I think if Mr. Foster were here, he'd agree with me. The golf team wouldn't have had a golf team this year had it not been for the van, because with bus driver shortages and other challenges, the van became the golf van for almost the entire fall. They used it for practice and for games. Girls basketball has used it a number of times for away games. Miss Vicini took the Science Olympiad team 2 or 3 weekends ago. Miss Halsey took the students to Skamia this past weekend and came back and texted me and said, "I'm never going any other way. This is how I want to go from now on." As long as the numbers work, the van can only hold 9 students and a driver. 10 is the max. But as long as the numbers in the group work, it is a really great way to go. Mr. Ferraro is going to use it in next week for the senior class trip. He's not going to make like a clown and try to put all the kids in the van, thankfully. But it will be taken as a vehicle should there be an emergency, should someone get sick, should there be a need to run out for something. The van will be with the trip and be available. And the best part about it, and the part I like as the money guy, through March 4th, using estimates, we've saved just over $20,000 having the van in 6 months. That's great. I mean, it was an investment for sure. You know, we spent about $45,000 buying the van, but we've almost paid half of that back just on the savings in 6 months. That works. That's the way to do it. And talking about finance, Mr. Clemens had wanted me to go over a number of things on the budget. Our principles for when it comes to the budget, first and foremost, oops, wrong way. There we go. We try to always sustain our programs, viable programs. We try to retain our staff, always remain under the tax cap, and avoid the use of reserves wherever reasonable and possible. Those are our principles in the budget. We've been following those. Our goals are to keep our program offerings for students, be fair and competitive when it comes to our salary and benefits for faculty and staff, mitigate the tax rate for local taxpayers. Mr. Clemenson and I are both local taxpayers, so we feel this as much as anyone. And tend to the house, make sure that we're doing the maintenance. One of the biggest mistakes we can make is say, oh, we're going to save money by not repairing things or not maintaining things. We want to make sure that the budget keeps a good maintenance budget component in there and keeps things in good working order. What we've been doing over the last couple weeks and will over the next week or two, we've got the staffing plans pretty much finalized. A couple things Mr. Clemenson's going to talk to you about in a minute. We've reviewed all the capital work that's both grant funded and operating budget funded and what's coming up in the next year. We've got that all in line. And I was actually working most of the day today on finalizing the building budget for the high school, which is why I'm probably cross-eyed right now because I've been staring at the computer since 8 o'clock this morning. All of that comes up to, at this moment, we believe we will be well under the tax cap, possibly no levy increase at all, 0. And our budget increase will be about 3.8%. That's about where we think we'll be so far. Still working on things, still fine-tuning a number of things, but that looks like the picture we think we're going to be presenting for you all next month. Okay? Mr. Clemenson?
Thank you, Larry. So how can you have a no tax levy increase and a budget increase of 3.8%? So where does that money come from? So you'll remember the foundation aid advocacy that had been done over a number of years. The former governor made a commitment to fund foundation aid over a period of 3 years. Governor Hochul has continued that commitment along with the legislature. Assemblyman Thiel has been a long-time champion of this. So Hampton Bays was the 4th lowest funded school district in terms of what it was owed to what we received. So we had some of the biggest jumps to make up. Given the uncertainty in the world and the economy right now, we have been cautious with that money, those increases, because we want to make sure that they're sustainable increases. So we said that last year, we're saying it again this year. So a number of the pieces of the budget are not necessarily generational expenses that just continue to live, but one-time expenses in line with the goals that Larry had mentioned previously. So we do have a couple of programmatic and curricular components that are inside the budget proposal. And as Larry said, it'll be a larger presentation next month. But at the high school, a proposal to increase, we have existing family and consumer sciences, but increase some staff time there to open up some more electives for kids, to provide for college credit in our grade 12 participation in government class. So I mentioned when we were talking about Mrs. Fox, about the news literacy program. So embedded in the news literacy program, if you meet certain benchmarks, our kids could get college credit for the work that's being done in government because of what they're doing in news literacy. At the middle school and high school, Mr. Carlson is going to present a realignment of STEM offerings. So no staff increase, but a real crystallization of what the STEM pathway looks like in grades 5 through 12. We have STEAM now, 2 STEAM teachers in the elementary school. We have a GLOW lab, they're beginning coding at that level, and then computer science really takes off. And it's been here and there, so some great electives, it's been baked into curriculum, but we really have a thread that's gonna take kids all the way through 12th grade. So Mr. Carlson is working on that with the science department. Included in the budget is a proposal to expand foreign language by taking a 0.4 staff member, making them a full-time staff member. Currently, we offer elementary school Spanish in kindergarten through 4th grade. Then there's a gap in grades 5th and 6th, and kids then pick up foreign language again in 7th and 8th grade, and then on into high school. So that gap we want to close, so kids can continue to receive that that support in language development. That's in line with our seal of biliteracy that Mr. Ferraro manages across the district, where kids can get a special endorsement on their diploma for really being, taking all the opportunities that they can to become bilingual in what our program offers. And then Mr. Carlson's working with the elementary school on the development of a phonics program in grades K through 2. So the curriculum subcommittee will see that in the next month or so, and then we could discuss the plan for that, but it is a priority. The capital components would include facility upgrades to the baseball and softball fields, so that's putting turf on the inside. It decreases maintenance. It's an enhancement to the program. Those programs are doing pretty well right now. And then resurfacing the track. That track hasn't been resurfaced since 2000, or it was replaced in 2008. And it just has a couple of spots where it needs to be resurfaced. And so we'll do that, again, tending to the house. Included in this budget is an investment that is a new investment. And I asked Larry and Mr. Richard to put it in the budget, and because I think it's an important opportunity for us to make sure that benchmark type field trips are accessible to any student who wants to attend the benchmark field trip. So you remember the 10th graders the current 10th graders were supposed to go to Washington, D.C. 2 years ago this week. And we postponed it until June, and then we said maybe we can go in the summer, September. It just never happened. We want to make sure that that trip is an experience that they have. So we moved it to 11th grade. So next year they'll be in 11th grade. So it's time to start thinking and planning for that. So this amount of money is different than other trips we take where students pay. Students fundraise and they pay. And there'll still be a component of that. But the district for those trips, Frost Valley, Disney, Hershey Park, DC previously, Woodlock Pines, the district doesn't pay for it, doesn't provide funding for kids to go to that. Some districts will provide funding for field trips when it's totally curricular based. And there's education in everything. So I know when we go on our music trips and when we go on all the other trips, kids are learning, absolutely. But what is truly a curricular department type field trip, we're seeing Washington, D.C. as that in the social studies department in 11th grade. So this amount of money, and we're still working out what that might be, would be a subsidy for kids. Something for everybody, a sliding scale of kids who are full price lunch, reduced price lunch, or free lunch, so that we remove that barrier. What we were starting to see before the pandemic was a third to half of a class going on these benchmark trips. It's not benchmark at that point, right? It's not a class-wide trip because more kids than not are not going. And so this is an opportunity for us to see if this works. And my recommendation is going to be for the board to give us permission to do that for a year and see if we can really get a critical mass, if not all of the rising 11th graders, to go to Washington, D.C. for a curricular, educationally based trip. There'll still be some fundraising, there'll still be some opportunities for kids to pay for pieces of it, that when they own it, they take it more seriously too. So we want to try to meet in the middle there. That is the end of the slide. I just want to say one final comment before we close. So we smile, we're laughing and light about ending the pandemic and going into endemic phase. At the same time, when the world is throttled by what's going on in Ukraine and how the rest of the world is responding to that. And so I just think it's important to say that in Hampton Bays, I mentioned it, how proud I was that our responsibility to kindness and compassion is really core to our beliefs and our kids' beliefs. The kids make it super easy for us to do our job. So we come out of this and we're happy and thank goodness the masks and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But people suffered over the last 2 years, and I think we should never forget that, and I don't think in Hampton Bays we do. We respect that people sacrificed a great deal, people lost loved ones, and really made difficult decisions to keep themselves and their families safe. And as we kick our heels and move into the spring and we're excited, that is a forever changing experience for kids who had big chunks of their experience look different at a time when families were suffering loss and suffering in other ways, so through isolation and anxiety and all of those things. And so we come out of this and we don't say, phew, that was over. We say, we're going to continue working to take care of one another. We watch what's going on in Ukraine. I watch our student groups already talking about Compassion Week is coming. Let's do fundraisers. Let's collect supplies. Hampton Bays is a good place, and it's the best place. And so I want to end my report by just saying that we're mindful of what's happening in the world. We're mindful of what's happened in our community for the past 2 years. And just a thank you to the board for your continued support to say, hey, this team has a good idea. Is it good for kids? Let's do it. So thank you. Any questions or comments before I sit?
I think you covered it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I do, sorry. Less slides, told you more words, less slides. In the agenda tonight, there are 2 resignations that I just want to acknowledge. The first is Dr. Greenberg will be resigning from her position as high school assistant principal on June 30th, 2022. And that's because we celebrate her as she takes on the role of high school principal in the Hewlett-Woodmere School District. So that is a pinnacle district in Nassau County, and it was a very rigorous process, and we knew that Dr. Greenberg aspires to lead a building, and hopefully what she was able to do here and what we stand for helped her along that process. So she stuck around with us tonight, so the recommendation is to accept her resignation and offer a thank you for the work that you've done.
Congratulations.
And then the other resignation that I reluctantly put on also, these reluctant ads, was Christine Pandolfo. She will be retiring at the end of this year, and we'll have plenty of time to celebrate that retirement as well. But we want to get it on the books right now, so that she wanted it on the books so that I didn't try to pull a rope-a-dope in June and say, oh, it's too late for us to act. So plenty more time to say all the things that I want to say, and in her role in serving the superintendent's office, but also in her role serving the district as the district clerk to the Board of Education. So that's on there too, and that's all I'm going to say on that until later on in the spring.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clemenson. Thank you, Mr. Luce.
Yes, we're running.
Okay, we will continue with student services unless there's any questions. I need a motion, please.
Motion?
I need a second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
passes. Personnel, we do consent agenda from 6A to 6I.
We didn't do business and finance.
What I miss? Uh-oh, let's go backwards. Yep. Okay. We'll do a consent agenda then from 4A through 4D. I need a motion.
Motion?
I need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll skip through 5 and we'll go back to 6 with a consent agenda from 6A through 6I. I need a motion.
Motion?
I need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we need the approval of notice of public hearing there's a couple of dates here for end of March and all of April. I need a motion.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Public comment, persons may address the Board of Education on any matters of interest or concern. The board president will recognize all speakers. Time limits may be imposed based upon agenda needs. Okay. With that, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion?
I need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Get home safely. Stay dry tomorrow.